But with that, as far as our first story of the day does go, we'll talk about Kota Ibushi. What the heck is going on with him and New Japan Pro Wrestling? Now, I read everything that New Japan put out, which is super long, like super lengthy. And I kind of got confused by some of it, but I do want to give credit to Joseph Courier of F4W Online, who has a good recap of all of this. And I am going to read from his recap. I'm going to give him credit again, Joseph Courier of F4W Online. I'm going to read his recap of the press conference that went out today for New Japan Pro Wrestling and everything that went down with Kota Ibushi, because this stuff is long and they get into it. So, a press conference on Friday was done to, I guess, address all the claims from Kota Ibushi towards New Japan Pro Wrestling and their executives. Ibushi began expressing his frustration with New Japan management in a series of tweets earlier this month. The situation stemmed from an employee in New Japan's talent relations department named Kikuchi threatening to terminate Ibushi's contract for making an appearance accompanying wrestlers to the ring at Taka Michinoku's Just Tap Out promotion. The official believed that Ibushi was attempting to deliberately breach his contract so he could leave New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ibushi described Kikuchi's interactions with him as being quote-unquote power harassment. Ibushi was also upset with Kikuchi for attempting to rush him back from injury for last January's Wrestle Kingdom 16 after suffering a shoulder injury last year in the finals of the G1 Climax. New Japan President Takami Obari and Bushi Rhodes, I'm going to butcher some of these names, Taaki Kidani, appeared on Friday's press conference and spoke about the situation. Obari stated that he met with Ibushi on March 31st to discuss the breach of contract. Ibushi apologized to Obari and made it clear that he wasn't trying to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ibushi's penalty for the breach was limited to be reprimanded. I don't know exactly what the reprimandation is. They go on to state that Ibushi started tweeting publicly about the situation on May 10th. Obari said that he's learned of the tweets, quote, Obari said he's learned that the tweets, quote, were made when Mr. Ibushi was acting in a state of concern for his mother. Mr. Ibushi told me that the situation triggered his mother's mental distress, leading to a suicide attempt at the start of May in which she suffered a broken bone in her back. A meeting with Ibushi, Obari, and Kidani was held yesterday. Obari said that New Japan, quote, fully and unreservedly apologizes to Ibushi for the concern, for the message, for the content of the message he was sent by Kikuchi. Obari confirmed that Ibushi has not been released from his contract and will continue to be contracted as a New Japan wrestler. Obari said that there was never any consideration given to terminating Ibushi's contract, but he will likely receive a salary reduction for the contract breach and publishing company secrets. The penalties Kikuchi will face haven't been determined. Kidani said that, quote, at the very least, they're considering transferring Kikuchi to a different position. When asked how close Ibushi may be to returning, Obari said there's no set timetable because his shoulder isn't in ring shape. Quote, there's absolutely no rush. I don't feel Ibushi needs to consider his injury a weakness. With all that he has done for New Japan Pro Wrestling, he can take all the time he needs. So, I think he shouldn't worry about being in the ring and rather discuss what he can do as things progress and his condition improves. New Japan offered the following on Kota Ibushi, stating, quote, Kota Ibushi is and will remain a key member of New Japan Pro Wrestling's roster. This kind of severe disagreement between company and talent should not happen again. In order to prevent any such instance in the future and ensure best possible working environment for talent, we will be actively engaging in discussions with Mr. Ibushi and about improving company policy and implementing proper procedure. We again would like to apologize to fans, wrestlers, and personnel for the concern and the disruption caused in the middle of the Best of the Super Juniors tour. However, the press conference didn't resolve all of Ibushi's issues with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ibushi tweeted the following after the press conference, stating, quote, don't leave out the part you don't want to talk about, the true story from May 8th. I'll address in detail. My mother, sensing my concern, asked me if there were any problems on May 8th. As a result of the story that I told her on May 9th, she attempted suicide and broke her hip bone. That was 95% of my tweet. Why did you leave it out? I told you yesterday that I would address it, and I would address it if their explanation on the their explanation on the press conference was not correct. New Japan then issued a correction regarding some of the words relating to Ibushi's mother and the suicide attempt. So with that, Kota Ibushi will not be released from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He will not get out of his contract from New Japan Pro Wrestling. But because he appeared for another promotion without permission, which is a breach of his contract, he will be getting a pay reduction. He will be, I don't know if that means just, I assume that's like the same thing as being fined, but they'll just take it out of his pay, I guess you could say. But that is everything going on with New Japan. They are trying to figure out who needs to work where to make the working environment better for everybody, who needs to do what, and maybe even restructure some of their positions. But yeah, New Japan Pro Wrestling did address everything with Kota Ibushi. They did apologize for the misconceptions of everything. And so yeah, that's everything going on with Kota Ibushi. He's not being released by New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know when some of this stuff came out earlier this week, there are a lot of translation mix-ups that made it sound like maybe he was being released because he said something about dismissal. So they also said that he's in nowhere near ready to get back in the ring. His shoulder is not in ring shape. So that looks like he may not be in the G1 this year. It looks like Ibushi may miss this year's G1 after going to the finals last year. But if we do hear anything else on Kota Ibushi and his condition, we will keep you guys updated right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited.